Hello guys, welcome back. This week I figured we'd look at one of the more notorious fiends to have ever appeared on To Catch a Predator. We're going to explore the story of Stephen Coates. The Riverside sting was probably the most prolific sting in To Catch a Predator's history. It was the first time that police were directly involved with the sting, arresting men the moment they left the house. It also showcased the largest number of men ever caught by the team. 51 men were arrested in just over 3 days. One of those men was Stephen Coates. Like every other guy on the show, Coates' crime was committed before he even stepped foot into the house. It didn't take long for him to get in contact with someone who told him that they were a 13-year-old girl. Coates immediately lies, telling the girl that he was 42, when in actuality, he was really 56. He was inching towards grandpa status by the time he was having this conversation. Because I don't want to lose my channel at this point, I'll say this about his chat. It was vulgar. I can't give specifics, but let's just say that he was looking for a good fit. His chat overall left little to no doubt when it came to his actual intentions. He even sent a picture of his Magnum dong.
Magnum dong!
For good measure. When he arrived at the house, he came with balloons, special lubrication, and what every illegal date needs, a mixed track of his own music. Yes, for those who don't know, Coates was a musician in his spare time. If you're interested in finding his own personal playlist, I won't stop you. I can't play it here mainly because of copyright reasons, but I can tell you this. You're not missing much. It doesn't take long for Chris to walk out and confront this thoroughly shaken man. There really isn't much of an interview to speak of, mostly because Stephen is doing anything he can to avoid having to speak to Chris. He does admit that he was there to meet someone and even gives Chris a chance to check out his mixtape.
What's going on? Go ahead, please.
I'm gonna leave. Okay.
Well, no. I think you need to trust me. You want to chat for a minute before you do that.
Okay, I want to go, please.
What are you doing here trying to meet a girl who told you she was 13 years old, Stephen?
I've never done such a thing, and I didn't want to do it. And
why did you do it then?
Because I'm stupid.
How old are you, Stephen?
I'm stupid.
How old are you?
Utterly, completely stupid.
How old are you?
56.
56.
And I'm stupid, and I've never done such a thing. And God, please.
Chris realizes the interview is pretty much dead on arrival, and then he brings out the crew. Coates then asks the officers to release him, mainly because he's a good man who has never done anything wrong in his life before. He begs of them.
I beg of you.
You beg of me what?
Just let me go, please. Yeah. Please let me go.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious.
I'll tell you what.
I've never done such a thing in my life. I never want to do it again. I just want to go, okay? Please.
Since you're the first person to say that today, we'll let you go.
Shortly after his arrest, we get some humorous banter between Coates and one of the officers in charge of the sting. Coates tries to deny everything before ultimately admitting to his crimes, while also trying to rewrite the more open-ended parts of his chat.
Sitting on your computer at home and enjoying the play, talking, is one thing, all right? Showing up at her house is a clear indication that your intent was to complete those 3 acts you talked about.
But
Anal sex, vaginal sex, and oral sex with a girl.
No. I never said anything about having vaginal sex.
Oh, yes, you did.
Yeah, there's usually a reason why it's best to keep your mouth shut, especially if you're already in handcuffs. Coates tried to fight his case in court, but much like his conversations with Hansen and the arresting officers, he wasn't all that convincing, and ended up with one of the more unusual sentences on the show. He was sentenced to 180 days in prison, which he served out on the weekends. I literally didn't even know that was possible. He also received 3 years of probation and lifetime RSO status. Once out, you'd expect Coates to go on living his life trying to avoid any kind of controversy or doing anything that would bring him any kind of negative attention. Right? Well, Coates proved us wrong when he went on YouTube and discovered all the uploads of his arrest. Coates didn't like people having an opinion on him or the crime he was looking to commit that night, so he took a page straight out of the Great Spax 3's handbook and began abusing the copyright system on YouTube. He started flagging and taking down any video that had anything to do with him. By his own design, it was clear that the only videos of him he was going to allow to be featured on the platform were those featuring his garbage music. And with tracks like Always Be Young and Thought Crime, how could anyone resist not going straight to iTunes and buying his entire album? Coates was successful in his endeavor. To a point. Eventually, he met his match when he discovered his arch nemesis, Mr. Gigi. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Gigi is one of the greatest TCAP content creators of all time. His series, The Predator Chronicles, was and still remains one of the best series on YouTube, mainly for how funny and informative he is when covering these degenerates. But that's mostly in his past, and since 2019, he's pretty much strayed away from TCAP content. During one of his Predator Chronicles, he not only covered the budding musician Stephen Coates, but he also featured a few seconds of his music.
I feel like this guy's just full of himself. Like, the whole time during sex, he's just like, I actually wrote this melody years before the Beatles did. You see, the reason I call this song Pearls on Two Strings is to showcase how delicate our happiness really is. I'm sorry, do you mind just quieting down a little bit? This is the best part.
Coates immediately responded by issuing a copyright strike against Mr. Gigi's channel for using his music without his permission. Mr. Gigi initially reached out to Coates to resolve the copyright strike, but Coates was less than enthusiastic about settling the matter like an adult. Mr. Gigi responded by reading an email he received from Coates, mainly to call him out for his practices and to give his audience some insight into the drama. It's important to note that throughout the whole situation, Mr. Gigi never explicitly names Coates, but he's clever enough to drop just enough breadcrumbs to clue his audience into who he's talking about. In the email, it's pretty clear that Coates hasn't changed in the near decade and a half since his arrest. Coates tries to call out Mr. Gigi for his series, asking if he feels bad for the people he's talking about, saying that there are real people on the other side of his taunts. And while I believe Mr. Gigi to be a cautious man, especially when it comes to how far he'll go for a joke, he luckily gave no fucks about this moron's attempts at eliciting sympathy from him. As the letter goes on, Coates does everything he can to blame his current state in life on NBC, perverted justice, and so on. It's pretty clear at this point that Stephen Coates has officially joined the ranks of Lauren Armstrong, Dustin McFetridge, and other predators who cannot and will not ever take responsibility for their own actions, and will, to their dying days, continue to blame everyone else for what happened. He says that he lost his job, the respect of his family, that he ended up in prison, and that he had to register on the RSO list. And to that I say, yeah, and whose fault is that again? He tried to go after the re-edited, re-uploaded version of the Predator Chronicles episode featuring him, but he was unsuccessful, with YouTube siding with Mr. Gigi on the matter. As far as the drama goes, it would seem that Coates may have made the wise choice to stop fighting YouTube creators and instead focus on living whatever life he has left. At least, that's what I hope he's doing. Overall, Stephen Coates has no one to blame but himself, and the sooner he realizes that, the better off he'll be. He's not going to change the minds of anyone by taking down content or trying to paint others as complicit or entirely guilty in the crimes he committed. And that's all for this week. Oh, and I wanted to give a big thanks to all my new subs, especially Fun Machine for being the superest of the superfans, as well as Ashley, Caitlin, and Melissa Tucker for all the support and all the great comments on my last video. I really appreciate it, and I wouldn't be doing these without your support. Thanks for everything, and I'll see you soon with a new video. Goodbye.